on Nova Legends podcast, I have Woodson coach Sheri Damato, whose Cavaliers, against all odds, after not winning a game until their 10th game of the year,
Yeah.
we're one goal away or closer to going to the state final, losing to the defending champ Colgan in the state semi. Coach, amazing season. Great to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Well, let me give you your background because I think people may have forgotten who you are. You're quite accomplished. You were an all-state soccer player from New Jersey. You played on the national championship George Mason team, won the championship in 1985. You got a BA and master's from George Mason. Then you went over and won 3 state championships in a row over at West Springfield High School. You coach some club ball. I know you're coaching Chantilly Storm. I saw a fascinating article about that in the Washington Post.
Oh my gosh, you really went into the archives.
Oh yeah,
I said you really went into the archives.
It's the podcaster's best friend. Yeah, and then you were a principal. You got into administration. You were a principal at Wakefield Forest for 17 years. Did your 30 years, so I guess you got some flexibility to teach a little bit. I guess you were interim principal at Canterbury Woods, and also maybe even Fairview.
Yeah, I taught at Canterbury. So after I retired, I retired from principaling, and then I wanted to go back and finish up my career. I went backwards. So I went back to teaching to finish up, do a couple of extra bonus years. And yeah.
And have you coached in all those years? Have you been away from coaching as well? Because I know
No, my girls. So I have twin girls who are sophomores now in college, and they played at Woodson. And so I coached a bunch of like Woodson girls, Fairfax High School girls. So I was coaching at Fairfax. So I took the team, and I thought that was a way that I could give back, as expensive as it is for parents. I thought I could just be able to comp them and coach their kids all through high school. So my girls left for college. I took a year off, and that's when I did the interim principal job. And then when Woodson became open, they reached out and we talked about it. And I thought, sure, why not?
And this was your first year back at Woodson. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And so you hadn't coached since West Springfield? You haven't coached high school since West Springfield?
No. When I left in 90, what did I leave? 94 to be in administration. You can't do both. You couldn't coach in the high school side. So I just, so I just came back now. This was the first year. I had to relearn everything.
Now, is high school coaching a format that you enjoy more than club? Do you enjoy the high school coaching?
Pros and cons. Pros and cons. It's kind of like a school year with high school. You know, the excitement of having a new bunch of girls. You have to coach very differently because you have them for such a condensed time, and you're bringing all of these different club teams and philosophies together from their club team, and and then trying to assimilate them into whatever formation you're going to use as a high school coach. So there's that challenge, and it's really about a lot of relationship building that you need to do at the high school club. It's more that longitudinal. You're in there for the long haul, and those parents, you build trust, and then you can kind of build from there. You have the time to build a different kind of program. So it's pros and cons. Yeah.
Has the game changed since you won 3 state titles? Has the game changed a lot tactically and technically over the years? And did you have to kind of relearn how to be a coach, at least strategically?
Well, some of the formations have changed, but basically it's the same. Soccer is soccer. I think that we've all, as coaches, have developed over the years from those early days when soccer was just, beginning when I started playing. So, there's just things that have developed, the sophistication of it all. Having game tape is phenomenal. Being able to watch other teams before you even see them, that's something that we never had before. You had to show up at a million different games and hope you got to see somebody you were going to play against. So that's been the introduction of that has been tremendous.
Yeah. Well, one thing I read about you, and everything on the internet is always true, as you know.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. But you wanted in the old days, and things have probably changed. it was important for you for your girls to be tough. You didn't baby them. And I think some of the stereotypes or whatever we had on about female athletes were a certain way back then. And you wanted your girls
Mhm.
to buckle down and play hard, slide tackle, play the game hard. Have the girl athletes changed over the years? I know with all the money invested in that parents invest in their athletes now, are the
Mhm.
athletes generally the same? Have they gotten? Is this something that you even talk about anymore that need to be tougher?
Oh, I think there's the physical toughness, there's the mental toughness, and then there's the emotional toughness. I think that the emotional and the mental, that's still you can't just focus on the physical. As far as gameplay, there you have to, in order to be successful, all the coaches are spending time on again relationship building and that belief system that they can go out there and win the camaraderie that you build. But I do think the physicality of the game is very physical. I think that more teams have embraced that. I think as girls have been playing on all these club teams and traveling and exposure to the game, I think that the level of play is tremendous and it's more consistent. I think it used to be that if you went to the Southern games or you went west, those were not going to be challenging games. It was Northern Virginia. It was basically it was Northern Virginia. That was where the powerhouse of soccer was. And now it's as we see, Liberty winning the whole thing and Colgan, there are great teams all across the state. So I think there's a parity there that, has developed. Um, but I do think that you still, what I always would tell my girls is you could be ladies off the field, but when it's time to step on the field, you are competitors. And, not that you're going to be a bad sport, but you're going to be competitive and not apologize for being competitive. And I think more of the girls have embraced that, what I see on all of the teams. So, which is exciting.
It is. Well, do you have to talk to them differently today, or can you address them in the same way you always did? Is there expectation? And this could be male, female. Like, I don't think coaches yell, even to the male athletes as much as they did when I played football and basketball. Has that changed how you address the players?
Probably not. I'm still kind of like, they're getting, you have to build that relationship for them to know you're not yelling at them on a personal level, that it is instructions, it's to motivate, it's to help them break those mental barriers that they have of themselves and of their teammates. So, you know, philosophically for me, I give the kids lots of feedback. I'm talking to them so that it took them a little bit to get used to that, to trust that, if I said, I know you can hit that ball and put that in the back of the net, that wasn't a criticism to say you're not trying. It was more of focusing down and really concentrating on what I know your abilities are. So, I do think that coaches now have to be a little more tender with some of the players. I do recognize that, and I think that a lot of coaches have had to do that. But I still think that once you build that trust, I think the kids, they understand where it's coming from. It's kind of like a parent's tough love sometimes.
Yeah. How about parents? Do you find yourself being tender to the parents too? Have the parents changed after all these years? I guess since the early '90s at West Springfield.
I love my parents at West Springfield. We still do Christmas cards with half of the players on my team and with their parents and their families now. But I I find that the parents at Woodson, they have been wonderful. They have been so supportive. And even with the beginning of the season being losing season, parents have been super supportive. And that carried through. They came out to games, and you always have an occasional um, an occasional thing here or there. But sportsmanship, parents have been tremendous, support tremendous, recognizing that, this is the team that you're playing on currently, and perhaps it's a different formation or a different style of play than what you play on your club team. So far, I'm going to knock on wood. Yeah, everybody's been just super, super supportive.
Yeah. Well, Woodson has got a proud sports tradition. They also have
Yes.
a community boosters that support their teams. They've always been at the top, at the forefront in terms of how they support their athletes. Um,
Mhm.
did you find, but Springfield as well,
Yeah.
maybe in a different way, but as well. Did you find Woodson much different than your days at Springfield in terms of dealing with administration and parents and athlete?
Well, we at Woodson we have our Mr. Greta is our new principal, so he came in at the beginning of our season. The Blair Smith is our athletic director, and Warren Williams is in there. They've been great. They've been very, very supportive. I feel very fortunate to have had tremendous administrators supporting us, both in our boosters. There isn't anything that we haven't asked for that they haven't supported us, and that's the way it was at West Springfield. I had again tremendous people there at West Springfield when I coached. Very giving.
Yeah. Well, Coach, when you first came to Fairfax,
Yeah.
George Mason was not the juggernaut in terms of it wasn't a huge school. Yeah, it was definitely building. It was the first major university in Northern Virginia. I
Yeah.
guess it's probably still the only major university in Northern Virginia, but it's a very different place than it is now. Why did you choose to come to Fairfax and to go to college?
Um, well, so I played on the New Jersey State team, and there was not a formal university team at Mason until my freshman year. So Hank Lung, who
Of
was
course.
very influential in my career as a coach, Hank was the Pennsylvania State team coach, and so Virginia. Along the East Coast, there was no national team at that point. And so we would compete on our state teams against each other. And then there was the Eastern region, which was the highest level at that point. And Hank would be at all of those tournaments. And so when he was announced as the coach, it was like June. And he contacted all of our Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, and Pennsylvania. So he contacted all of us and recruited a bunch of us to leave our commitments. I was supposed to go to William and Mary
Oh wow.
to play, and he convinced us to take a chance on him and on a new program. And there were about six of us from the New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York area that started that first year. And then the next year, we tagged more of the people who were on our select teams and helped him with the recruiting. And we got a bid the first year. We even went to the NCAAs, got spanked by UNC at that time, who was the dominant in the finals. And by our senior year, that was who we beat, was UNC. And it was just such a tribute to him and the program that he built there.
Yeah. We'll get back to the soccer team there, but what did George Mason feel like at the time? I guess I would have referred to it as a commuter school in those days. Mostly, I think a good majority of the kids came from Northern Virginia families and they lived at home and went to college there. What did it feel like to you?
Um, it felt like a small college
Mhm.
kind of setting where you like that community. I think about my girls' experience, and once you declare major, you're in the College of Nursing or the College of Education. It felt like that with all the athletes. They treated us like royalty. Top-notch facilities. The field house was built, brand new fields there. So they really, Susan Collins, who passed, she was very influential in advancing all of the women's programs. But also Jay Marsh was, on the men's side, and he was a real advocate for all the athletes. So we lived in these brand new dorms, and half of the floor were women athletes, and you came off the elevator, and the other side was all the men's teams. So we had a lot of fun. We studied hard when we had to. We played hard. But you got to celebrate all the other athletes and you really got to know them. So it was like a small community. It was like a small town feeling. And it was wonderful.
Yeah. When you guys wanted to go to parties, did you go to Fairfax? Did you go downtown to Georgetown? What was the social life like at George
Yeah.
Mason?
There were a couple of places here in Fairfax, not too many. We mostly went into DC. There it was um, opportunities to have fun, go to the different places. We went down to Champions was the big one, and you got
Yeah.
to see a bunch of the Redskins, but a lot of it was on campus stuff. It was really just doing goofy fun. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I understand you played your freshman year, I believe, with broken bones in your feet. And at some
Yes.
point, you had to have them rebroken and reset. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about how difficult it must have been to play with broken bones.
Yeah, college stupidity. If I could go back, I'm still, interestingly enough, I've been waiting. In 2 weeks, I get to have pins put in those toes yet again.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just that's the trade-off when you're a college athlete. But there's nothing that takes the place of that experience. I was playing on my New Jersey State team at the same time. We were playing, getting ready to go to the NCAA's, and our coach, the last thing he said to us, he knew how important it was. The last thing he said to us was, "Don't get hurt." And of course, I took a shot, and somebody put their cleat up, and I felt all my toes just crush in my cleat. And so came back home in tears, came back to school in tears, just didn't want him to know. So I just put foam in there, taped them up for the rest of the tournament, and just kind of just tried to bear through it. But it was definitely, if you have big games, I would say you need to serve one master, and not spread yourself too thin. And I guess that's the message I try to give the kids. Um, I really want them to be able to do their club soccer and be in tournament play and the big elite things, but try to balance that with the training that we do, because we go hard during the week like all the teams, and there comes a point where your body just starts to it doesn't have anything left. You go through, I've had 2 hip replacements, knee replacement, several, your body just starts to give out playing all those games, and we didn't know that back then. So it is something that I think trying to strike a balance between club and the importance of that, and then also that experience to be able to play for your high school team.
Yeah. Well, you would have
Mhm.
played with some iconic names if you would have gone to William and Mary, but it turns out you played with some of the most iconic names in Northern Virginia soccer here at George Mason. You played with
Yeah.
Andrea Volpe. My
Hmm.
son played against, I think her son, maybe her nephew at Herndon just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Stu Boddicker, of course,
Yeah.
Kim Crabb, who's either the first or second, I get confused, African American women to play on the national team, and
Yes.
Pam Bauman, who
Right.
scored the game winner in the national
Yes,
title
she
game.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so talk about that incredible team that you played with and actually winning the title for George Mason.
Yeah, Kim Maslin was our goalie. Kim was
Yeah.
also on the national team, and she played for Pennsylvania State team, like all those girls. Betsy Drambor, New York. Lisa was a Jersey girl, like myself. Meg Romaine was a Jersey girl. Um, they were all fun, wonderful people, and it was a sisterhood. It was our sorority, and so we were there to support one another. And um, you know, uh, Jeannie, one of the girls, broke her nose, and it was a tremendous. And Hank was like our dad away from home. He was our coach, but um, he also was somebody that you could go to and talk through all the different things that were going on in your life. And so those girls were amazing. They elevated the play as we brought more of those freshmen, sophomores, as you helped bring friends onto the team. They just were tremendous. And Pam, who's a local, right? She went to Fairfax, I think, right? So it was nice having that support of all the families who were local also.
Yeah. Well, it must have been an amazing feeling to be a national champion.
Yeah.
I guess you kind of got there before UNC won like the next 15 in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
such a crazy dynasty. But you eventually got into coaching, as we mentioned before. You
Hmm.
ended up at West Springfield and had tremendous success. How'd you end up at West Springfield, and why'd you decide you wanted to be a coach?
Well, I started coaching. Well, when I came out of college, I tried college. I was at GW as an assistant coach, and I had just started my teaching career. And I realized what went into college coaching and the commitment. And it would have been impossible to balance my teaching career which was my priority with a coaching career. So Kevin Kelly was the coach at West Springfield, and he asked me to come on and be his assistant coach. And so I did that, and I just fell in love with it. And then he left the next year, and Frank Cronetti, Charlie Martin, they were the athletic directors, good guys. They took a chance on me and asked me to coach the varsity, and I did. When we started off, um, it was a wonderful, wonderful run. I started in 80, I guess 89 when I took over the team.
Yeah. Was it a difficult transition to become a head coach, to become a leader when you're young? Obviously you have lots of soccer experience and know-how, but all of a sudden you're entrusted with the whole program, picking a JV coach, picking the players, dealing with parents, all these things a head coach does. Was it a difficult transition? It might seem second nature to you now.
Well, all right. So I was the oldest of 6 kids. My dad was a coach, so I, learned from him very early on. And then I had great coaches that I was blessed to be a player on and got to see what they did. So then I came in, and I think you're young and naive and you believe you can do anything. So I don't think I really thought about it back then. It was just an energy that you could bring. And the parent part was a little bit harder. But again, there were such incredible folks there, but I had many parents who were coaches themselves. So, kind of had to figure that out. And then once I think, again, they saw that we could bring the team together, myself and my assistant coaches and JV coach, who happened to be, I very wisely brought my college roommate, who I grew up with, Meg Romaine, who played at Mason.
Yeah.
And then I brought Sue Vodica. When Meg went to Paul VI, Sue Vodica became my JV coach. And so I had great coaches. We were really a bonded team, which developing players, a mindset, we worked together. And I think that was also a cornerstone of the success at that point.
Yeah. As a coach, did you find yourself channeling Hank Lewing? How do you pronounce coaches?
Lung.
Yeah, Lung.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself channeling Coach Lung, or did you quickly become your own coach? You played for him on the Pennsylvania State team, then at George Mason, had unbelievable success. It's probably difficult to do anything different when you've seen that kind of success in front of you. But did you become your own coach quickly?
Okay, so Hank he coached Pennsylvania. I played for New Jersey.
Oh,
so
that's how you met him, though.
But
Gotcha.
yeah. But in college, he was very different. He was quiet. He didn't say a word on the sidelines. He wore his flip-flops. We used to laugh, but what he had us do and the level of play and the intensity at practice and the commitment that carried forward. So probably what I brought, which was very different than what he did, was just my interactions and my interpersonal relationships with kids. He brought, which I drew from as a teacher, and that was more, as a camp director and all my, my skill set that I learned from my mom and my dad. So, it was his philosophy, though, really about that hard work at practice and the way that you train and the way that you coach. And then you slowly incorporate your own aspects of that. But I still, to this day, we still train like college kids. That's the way I run my high school practices.
Well, Coach, I know you were doing a lot of inspirational speeches to this Woodson team, and you could probably harken back to some of those West Springfield days. What did it mean to you and the girls to become champions, become state champions? What did it mean to the rest of your life? Was it really transformative, those moments when you became champs, especially 3-time champs?
Absolutely. It was the first year that the year before we actually won at West Springfield, we thought we were going to be able to take it that year, and it didn't happen. And each year we got closer. The first year, I don't even remember the record. It's been so long, but it was like kind of breaking through those barriers of a belief system that, yes, we can win the district. Yes, we can win a regional title. Yes, um, we can win a states. And at that time, Mia Hamm transferred to Lake Braddock. And
Yeah.
so that was the year we thought we had it, but no. I think Lake Braddock beat us like 5 times. We played every team twice that in that conference, and then you had districts and then regions and then states, and they won every one of them. They deservingly, they played hard. And so when you finally get to the show, as I would call it, and then you play well and you feel good about it, then the next year you start to believe we can attain that. And then you do the next thing. And then after you win your first state championship, um, there's this celebration and this level of confidence that the girls would have, and just this drive to want it again. And so that carried through year 2. But with that comes, I was just telling Nina over at South County what a tremendous run she's had, because once you win a state title once, everybody's looking for you. And
Yeah.
so to win it a second time in a row was even more of a challenge. And then our third year was the hardest, because, everybody says, are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? And you want it. But there are teams that want it equally as much and want to be able to say, I dethroned you. So, but it is transformative, because I think every one of those girls went on to be phenomenal coaches. They became tremendous, their parents of kids who are playing now. So many of those players I know happen to be against, they bought homes in the Lake Braddock area, which I still can't understand. So now their kids play for Lake Braddock. And it's so funny because I'm talking to their grandparents on the sidelines, before games, and talking to their parents, and their kids are out there. Darian Vita, Emily Seuss is Amy Marchetti is her mom, and Angela Gerner was Darian's mom, and Alex Cara, her daughter, I know played for Lake Braddock. So it's just kind of fun to see the connectiveness that you have with all of the players across the county.
Yeah, Coach, I'm not that familiar with that generation of West Springfield player. Who are some of your other top? I know you love all your kids, but who are some of your other top players from that state championship, those runs?
Yeah, we had Courtney Massimo, who I ended up hiring. She was Courtney Jursich. I ended up hiring her as a PE teacher at my elementary
Oh,
school,
yeah.
which was really super cool. And then her kids came to our school, which was nice. And then we had Stephanie Lohr. There was just Amy Hakola, who ended up playing for Navy. She was one of the first women who ended up playing there. Corey Thornton. The list goes on and on. There were just kids who just emerged. They came from these different teams, and they came together. Stacy Cooper was one of them, real top-notch forward. And again, they played for the William and Marys. They played for UVA. They played for Mason. They played, it was fun to watch their careers as they went through NC State. Yeah.
Well, Coach, you want this something that a lot of coaches go through. I don't know if you know Danny Meyer, legendary football coach in the area as well.
Yeah, of
But
course.
yeah, but a lot of coaches, they get into administration. There's a lot of reasons to get into administration. It pays more, retirement's better. There's a lot of reasons to do that. But oftentimes you have to give up coaching.
Mhm.
Was it a tough decision to have to give up high school coaching? And do you think we should make it easier for administrators if they want you to continue coaching?
Um, Danny's a great guy. Love Danny. Uh, to did have to give up the coaching. I think that for me, it was a choice I was ready to make. Like I felt like I had this tremendous opportunity to build a program and to see it flourish. And then I felt like, hey, it's somebody else's turn to be able to continue with this. And I was ready to bring about change, because my other part of my life was a teacher. And there were many things that, I think being a coach, you bring a skill set of being an organized person and seeing big pictures and being able to strategically bring about change, bring people together. That was the same thing that I got to do as an administrator, particularly elementary. You're running like a little mini town there. And so, and the relationships with kids. So I was ready for that next challenge. I felt like, I was ready for another challenge. So for me, it wasn't a problem transitioning. I was sad to let it go, but it also allowed me then to jump and go on to the club side a couple of years later, because it took a few years to really honor my first commitment, which was to be an administrator and help young children and teachers. And so it would have been too difficult to coach and to have my commitments to the school, because as an administrator, you're putting in 10-hour days, 6 days a week, easily. And so there wouldn't have been time to be able to do my job well as an administrator and as a coach. So that break of time before then I could squeeze in the late practices and the weekend where I could kind of balance that. And that was, before I had my own kids. If you have a family, it's hard. Coaches give up a whole lot. Administrators give up a whole lot. And the coaching, so many of the coaches, it pays nominal. High school, it's really, I was shocked as a club coach, what your dollar worth is compared to what you make in a high school program. And so I see how difficult it is for the school system to have coaches, commit to the high school. They're also coaching on the club level, and doing their other jobs. So they're not doing it for any financial gain. They're doing it for the love of the game. Yeah.
Well, another legendary George Mason athlete, Mike Dufresne, who was a basketball coach at Osborne and then an administrator, principal at Osborne, then later on he's principal at John Hanley in
Mm-hmm.
Winchester. He told me that coaches make the best administrators because it's similar skill sets. But do you think being an administrator, now that you're back coaching, has helped you be a better coach?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Vice versa. I think the skill set that I brought as an administrator was created as a coach. I took that team building philosophy to my administrative position, really helping people believe they could be the best teacher and reach every child, um, to bring out the best in them, to bring a sense of community. And then I learned so much as an administrator, and you grow that way. And just not to mention the job specifics of curriculum and all the different aspects, but I think I really, working with other adults and bringing that back now as a coach, I think you learn what's really important and what's not. I think when you're young and you start as a coach, everything's, a level 10. And then after you're an administrator, you realize what level 10 really is. And so when you go back to coaching, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
we can do this.
Yeah. Well, Coach, let's get to this season. And
Hmm.
you guys had a really uh, solid record last year: 7 wins, 6 losses, and 2 draws. And but this season, obviously, you struggled early. You had a tie against Justice, but I think you lost your other 8 your first 9 games.
Yeah.
Um, Finally got a win against Alexandria City. Definitely not a bad team at all.
No,
Um,
they're good.
yeah, but I remember when I saw, so I went to Robinson. I was class of
Hmm.
'84, and you guys were playing a doubleheader in the district semi, in the regional quarter finals, I believe, right? And the winner would go to the regional semifinals, and the loser was going to go home. So
Right.
it was a double header. So I had a chance to go see both Robinson teams, who are very good, excellent teams. So I decided not to go to the girls' game because I said, well, they beat them 9-2 last time.
Yeah, we got
Why should
spanked.
it's going to be hot outside. So I don't need to go to the game. I just come to the boys' game. So when I walked up, I didn't ask anyone who won. I know Robinson won, but I saw some Robinson girls, and these are really funny girls. Their social media is so funny, and they
Yeah.
did not look happy. And I knew right away that they had lost. I asked them what
Yeah.
happened. They said they lost 4-0. Um, and then so then I actually got to see you play live over. I saw you guys play against TJ at TJ in the
Mhm.
regional final. And anyone who saw you guys play that game would never believe you lost 8 games or 9 games this year, whatever it is. You guys actually lost 11, including our postseason. But you guys look confident. You're physical. You have people that can finish, dangerous. I mean, the whole package. So
Yeah.
it's one of the most confounding sports stories I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen this big a turnaround in sports. It's amazing. Tell us a little bit about the season. Initially, getting started, coaching in high school again, and how it's so easy to lose teams in high school if you lose early because especially seniors, they got prom, they got graduation. It's so easy to lose them. How are you able to get this team after some troubling results early and just have just an historic season?
Wow. It is amazing, right? So, the beginning was a little hard. We started the season. We had two of our starters, our goalie being one of them, who was new to varsity. So they were in the state finals in the state championship for basketball. And then we had two of our track players who were on the state championship for track. So we had four of our starters who weren't with us until I think like the day before our first scrimmage, that they were allowed to practice and get out on the field. So it took a while for them to remember a soccer ball, as we would laugh and joke about. And I only had five returning varsity starters, and I had four out of my five freshmen were starters at that point and continued. So we were a very young new team. There, it was kind of like everything coming together that made it even more challenging. We played against Washington, Liberty, Freedom, Centerville, Oakton. We played those were our first couple of games. So they were tremendous talent. I looked at, the assistant coach, Courtney Miles, and I said, Oakton, they're going to be in the state tournament. I mean, they were just fantastic the way they were moving the ball. We were lucky if we could string three passes together and they could, anticipate where somebody was going. And so we practiced hard. We spent a lot of time conditioning. We had some injuries. We lost Emma Prager, who is an outstanding player. We lost her from track. She was on that state track team. So she never did come back until we got into district tournament play. And then gave us a boost, but we had lost one of our freshmen who was a starter and tremendous, Grace Taylor, to an injury. So it was just all these things coming together that made it really challenging of playing these great teams early on. And still with those games, we still only lost by 1-2. I think South County was the only team that we lost by 3 goals. But we were scoring 1 or 2. It was a little bit harder to put the ball in the net, but we were letting goals in too, but not a lot until we got to Robinson. And that Robinson game, it was 1-1 at half. And, then we went into the second half and we got pounced. We just fell apart. And, once they got their third goal, I think everybody was just like, how much more are we going to take? We had lost, 6, 7 games at that point, and then you get pretty demoralized when you have a game like that. And so after that, the game started to we still kept playing through it. We kids got together, they had a team meeting, talked about what they really wanted for the season. We embraced at that point, we had finally gotten to a fitness level where we could back off of some of that. We really we brought in some lighter aspects of practice so that we did like so many teams. You do team dinners, all the team bonding stuff, but we did oh my gosh, we did a rude awakening breakfast, which was more fun. We did at the beginning of practice, we would have water balloon tosses with prizes. We do PK candy candy PKs, so that if they made their PKs, they got to pick from, a bunch of candy that I would buy them. And then, we tried to do flag football, or two-hand touch football. They're not very good at that. They needed to stick with soccer. Frisbee football, so we just kickball, we just tried to do something that took us out of our focus of soccer and more about us. And then we shifted gears, and you downshift and you say, okay, now we're about soccer again, and so let's get serious and do what we came here to do. And that was really the turning point for us. I think once we had success against Alexandria City, being such a tremendous, they have a great team.
Yeah.
And that was a real win for us to be able to put the ball in the net 2 times, not just have it be something else. And then we had the tie against Yorktown, another really great team. And
Absolutely.
then the win against West Potomac, who had some players, but we were really hot at that point. And um, came in with a little confidence into districts. We let the district, Lake Braddock, we let that kind of slip through us in the overtime when we lost to Lake Braddock, but 2-1. And then from there, to be able to be in the regions and not just have, lucky goals. We never had a lucky goal. They were always hard-earned, well-deserved goals. Ellie Polk was our leading scorer. She had
Yeah,
15 goals on the season.
before we get to regionals, I want to talk about Ellie Polk and Nora
Hmm.
Cook. They seem
Yeah,
to be tremendous players.
yeah.
Love these. Talk about them a little bit, and where have they been, and what kind of are they prospects? Are they playing at the next level?
Yeah, and you're going to ask me. Ellie is playing, and you're going to ask me where. It's a school in North Carolina, Division 3. I can't remember,
Okay.
but Ellie's tremendous. Ellie is a beast out there. She gives 1,000% everything she has, and other teams knew that she was our primary target to score because we had freshmen who were also up front and in behind her, and new sophomores to varsity, and so she was our returning anchor up there. And people double teamed her. They'd take her down. That was a strategy that happened to us all through the finals of states. That was a strategy, take Ellie down at the 50 and let's see what happens. And so it was really hard for her, but she played through it. And she was tremendous, tremendous. And I'm so proud of the way she developed as a player, and her taking that leap of faith to trust these young players around her to not just only hold on to the ball, but to release it. Maybe she could have had a shot, but the better shot was with this new young player out there, and she would release, and that took some time, and they would finish. And so I think as that trust between them developed, I think more and more being able to play a ball back to a midfielder, even if maybe you could turn on and take a shot from 30 yards out yourself, instead dropping it back and knowing that maybe there was a give and go that would be on, or maybe they would take the shot and they knowing that they had a cannon. So yeah, I think it was a win-win all around. And I'm disappointed, Ellie she made the district team, but she was not eligible to go on to the region and then the states. But she was a top contender all the way through.
Yeah. What about Nora Cook? I thought she did
No.
a great job against Anna Chow on the TJ game, and she
Yeah.
also scored the winning goal.
Yeah.
Very skilled player, very confident player. Tell us about Nora.
Yeah. Nora's a junior,
Oh,
and
okay.
so she's being recruited now. Nora is a an incredible player in the back, incredible presence. She also, she had our sweeper. We played with 2 backs. The other one was new to the position. The outside back was new to the position in high school. She had Maddie Blanchard on the other side, who was tremendous. Grace Ewalt, who was tremendous on the other side. And then Sabrina, who was in the back. But Nora was the anchor because she scored 5 goals for us this season.
Wow.
And her free kicks she could hit it 40, 50 yards out and put it on net and be a threat. Her corner kicks, a threat. She can stick that ball for PKs in the back of the net. And then her shooting ability was just a real asset. It was an offensive weapon for us too, along with our outside backs who were also making those overlapping runs offensively. That it was all, they just came together defensively as a team as the season went on. And Nora was a big part of that. She's strong in the air, you know. And then when we got Emma Prager back, Emma also was the key marking back for both Anna also, as well as when we had to mark other key players against other teams. And so it was wonderful to have her back. And you'll see a lot of her next year. She's a junior. So you'll see a lot of her next year on the field.
Well, that's exciting. So
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
way the Patriot District is, they have a kind of a strange postseason where you get these double buys, and you won your first game, so you did qualify for regionals, but you still had your work cut out for you.
Yeah.
You got by Annandale, and then you had this game with Woodson. I mean, I'm sorry, this game with Robinson. And
Yeah.
what did you think going in? You'd lost 9-2, but the game had been tied at halftime. You know you have a better team. You have Emma back, Prager back. Did
Yeah.
you honestly, notwithstanding what you told the players, did you honestly think you had a chance to beat Robinson?
Well, I'm going to back up even a little bit because
Yeah,
our West Springfield game in districts, we really wanted to get to that Lake Braddock game, the second round, so we could get a bid. So
that's right. Yeah,
we felt like coming off of those three previous games, we were really starting to hit our stride. But we didn't want the season to end by not winning against West Springfield and not be able to see where it would carry us. And so that was kind of a pivotal game for us to say, hey, you beat us last time, uh, and this is our turn. They beat us by 2 goals. It's our turn now to come back, and we really came back. That was a big win for us. Um, Lake Braddock, yes, we lost. We said, okay, we were in it. It could have gone either way, all the way through to the end. So then when we had the opportunity to play Robinson again, our motto was at when things started to turn around was we believe that we are better than what we're showing in the end result of a score. You know, we believe in each other. We believe what and who we can become as a team. And when we went into that Robinson game, we didn't want to be embarrassed. We wanted to go in that game and show them who we were, and that we wanted them to remember the first half of that game that we played them the first time. And so we went out, we're going to be the best we can be. And however that plays out at the end, that's how it's going to play out. And so that was a great win for us to say, okay, West Springfield, check. Robbins, Lake Braddock, we were right in it. Robinson, check. Okay, these are teams that we played before. We want to show the growth and where we and who we've become. So yeah, that was a biggie.
well, another biggie though was Hayfield, because Hayfield was
Mm-hmm.
the defending regional champs. Very good team.
Yeah.
I didn't see them this year. I saw them last year, and they're very. I think they only lost 2 or 3 games all year. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a big game, and also that was an elimination game, I believe. So if you lost,
Yep.
you would have gone home. Tell us about the Hayfield game.
I don't really remember all the details. Honest to God, it became such a blur, and we were just like on a roll. Like we knew you do all the scouting and you prep for all of it, but to be honest, like we were just going into our game thinking about what we wanted to accomplish in our game strategy. And the girls came out and really wanted that and said, you know what? We did Robinson. This was great. Now we want to come out and we want to win against Hayfield. Everybody thinks Hayfield is going to, take it to us and we're going to be left in the dust. And it was like, nope, we're going to be the underdogs and we're going to come out there and play our best game. And they did. I mean, they played, stupendous. That was like just a blur of celebration. Yeah, they had some really good players on their team.
It's a really good team. I was very impressed with them
Yeah.
last year. So, Coach, how much different is the season because you actually beat TJ and you won the region? Now, you would have gone to state whether or not you beat TJ or not. Maybe you can argue that you would have had a tougher game the first game because you would have played Madison, I guess, or whatever. But But let's just say, for example, the fact that you won some hardware, does it make the season that much more special?
Absolutely. Absolutely. To say that you're I mean, it would have been a joy. It would have been a celebration just to even be there. But what our motto was definitely we wanted to be the best team possible, the best version of ourselves, no matter how that game turned out. But I believe our girls truly showed up strong for that game, and deservingly, it was a complete celebration to be able to walk away and say we were, region champions. I mean, that was just a celebration through and through. And the girls, I think they felt such a sense of pride, that they were able to attain that coming off of the first half of our 3 quarters of our season.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well,
yeah.
it's an interesting matchup because you both have star players, and then you have young players that kind of fill that you're building
Mhm.
on. So it's an interesting matchup because both the teams are very similar.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes. Anna's just a phenomenal player. She's just, she had other players around her too, not to just limit, but she is the heart and soul of that team. She is amazing, her skill set. And I'm glad she's going to a Jersey school. I'm glad she's going to Princeton. Good for her.
exactly. Yeah. She's only a junior too, so hopefully it'll
Right,
be one
right.
more year for her. So Oakton is a very talented team. They're well
Hmm.
coached. They pass the ball around really, really well. They have an amazing midfielder, Isabella Yosefi. They got a striker, Avery Brocker, very good player. But they're very deep. Um, that must have been a huge tasks for you to go. Actually, Oakton came to Woodson, but to play Oakton in the first round with all those top players, that must have been a tough task.
Yeah, definitely. And we actually, um, 3 quarters of our season, we played away, even when we were home, because they're tearing up the track at Woodson. So we played at West Springfield, which was a positive omen. I told the kids because we were going to the old turf. For me, I said that's a good thing. But yeah, it was. They were a heck of a team, and again, Emma Prager was the one that marked Avery. And pretty much, you know, frustrated her with shutting her down. And the rest of the team surrounding her, good players, all the girls that you just mentioned, outstanding players. And I don't know if I'm allowed to share who made states, but in some shape or form, they will be represented on that team because there's some really quality players. And there were named players, and I think that's the difference is our team, we don't really have named players. They're not big names. And so I think that with our players, they're scrappy, they're going to give whatever they have, um, they're going to count on one another, and they're going to play as a team and just rely on one another. And I think that's what got us through. We don't have that big name person who as an opponent, you're going to say, I need to watch this one, this one, this one, this one. So yeah, it was fun. It was fun being out there. It was again a incredible celebration, to be able to advance. Yeah.
Well, it earned you a fun road trip to Richmond to play against Colgan, defending state
Yeah.
champ. And I saw that Colgan team play Freedom in the final. Quality defenders. They got lots of tricky players on the team. Did you guys have a chance to win that game? I know it was only a 1-0 result. Tell us a little bit about the game.
Yeah, it's well, I wish you could have seen it. How disappointing on the state. Shame on them for not picking a field that allowed the game to be broadcast for all the girls' games. So the semifinals could not be broadcast. So all the parents that couldn't come because it was a Friday during the day were hoping to watch it on be broadcast, but that site did not have the ability to do it. So hopefully they'll get that right for next year for whoever's in the finals, semifinals. But in the opening minutes, it was very real. We had multiple opportunities in the opening 10 minutes, 15 minutes, to be able to put the ball in the net. And we either didn't hit it cleanly, or their goalie, who is phenomenal. Their center back, Bree, she's just a really great player. She was marking Ellie. Again, strategy was take Ellie down. If you get a free kick at the 50, that's not going to hurt you. If Ellie comes at you, now it's a 50-50. But they only had one shot the first half, and that shot went in.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was far post, and it was a nice shot. They finished. So they got one shot, it went in. And the second half, I think they had it was a very low shooting game. I think they had 4 or 5 shots, and we had 3 shots the second half. So, yeah, they won. Kudos to them. And the Freedom team, boy, they're a heck of a team. So,
They're a heck of a team, but Colgan had their chances against them as well. I mean, they dominated the second half. So Colgan,
yeah.
Freedom definitely could have broken the game open in the first half, but I thought Colgan
Mm-hmm.
was a better team in the second half. And then when you get to overtime, the nerves just kind of bundle
Sure.
up. Chase Rooney, that goal that you mentioned for Colgan, made it
Yeah.
a stay at the death to send it to penalties. So I'm thinking, watching that game, you got a 6'4" goalie and penalties. Colgan
Yeah.
has a huge advantage, but Freedom's penalties were perfect, so they end up winning the state title. But
Yeah.
but coach, this has been great. I'm so glad to meet you. When I was prepping for this interview, I couldn't believe the treasure trove of history you've been involved with. I just thought you were coaching high school soccer like anybody else.
I
Uh,
was mom coming home,
I
right?
mean, I couldn't believe all the things I found out, and I'm just so glad you took time to talk to me. Now that you're back and had this phenomenal season, how long do you think you're going to coach?
I don't know. I asked my kids. I said, "Are you good with this?" Because it was their former school, and I don't want to step on their toes. And they were great about it. They're like, "Yeah, of course, mom." So, um, I think there's a commitment for me, to with these freshmen coming in that have given so much into their families. I would love to be able to continue with them. My assistant coach is Courtney Miles, and the JV coach is Brian Cannell, and they're both tremendous. And so, I'm hoping that what we develop together, that one of them will want to step up and continue with the program, and just build something really special. Jim Apt is the one that took over for me at West Springfield, and he went on to put his own name on it and his own twist, and he went on to win more state championships, at West Springfield. So I think you start to build a culture, and just looping back to the seniors, there's something that they did at Woodson that was even bigger than what they did on the field. They created a culture that was acceptance of others, acceptance of the freshmen, and it not just being that cliche of we're seniors, you have to do this, you're freshmen, you have to do this. It was not that. They really embraced that mindset that we were trying to build of everybody is equal when you step out on that field, and you need that sisterhood to be able to go far, and not just the field but in life. And so as long as I think the girls are invested with me and the coaches in that mindset, and with one another, and the families are there, I'm on for the next couple of years. I know West Springfield just opened.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you want to come back? I'm like,
yeah,
I can't,
yeah.
no.
Well,
But it's
that
fun.
that would be interesting. You really can go home again. But I was just thinking, Coach, if you guys would have won the state title after the way you started, after you being away from the game for so long and coming back, it would have been a Hollywood movie. It would have been an incredible script. Who would you have wanted to play you in that movie?
Oh gosh. Um, yeah, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
That would
I
have been
mean,
a great movie.
yeah.
I'm not into movies, but if I could do a documentary of that, that would have been an incredible. Um, it would have been an incredible run to document. It was such an amazing time. I kept hearing about this, and like my daughters went to York, my kids went to Yorktown, and I was shocked when you guys tied them. I was like, well, that's got to be senior night over there. I kept trying to rationalize
Yeah.
all these wins, and it just kept compounding and compounding, and finally, everyone just realized this is real. This is happening. So anyway, I just I
You know what I was going to also, I just to interject, I just one other thing that I think that it's important for any viewer, like anybody who takes the time to watch this, is that, our seniors, the other thing that they did was they graduated. Our graduation at Woodson was Thursday afternoon. So our kids got on the bus after their graduation and we went down to Richmond. They gave up their parties with their friends. They gave up all night grad parties. They had that whole excitement of graduation and the sadness. And then they also had, so I think that's hard for our kids in Northern Virginia to leave our timeline of when we do graduations. Colgan and all the other schools, they all were out a week before. And so, it's hard, I think, for kids to juggle all that we ask them to juggle. So I'm so excited and so proud of them on this journey. I can't thank them enough for giving what they gave.
Yeah, well, what an amazing journey and incredible leadership coach to pull it off, and just an amazing story, one that we'll remember for a long time. So I'm just so glad you guys are able to win the regional and to play so well. And I can't wait to see you guys play next year. It'll be here before you know it.
Who knows? I hope we have a little bit of a better start, just a little bit of a better. But if that's how it turns out, that's
Yeah,
how it turns out.
yeah,
You know,
we'll take a state semi in a losing a losing
yeah.
record any day of the week.
Right.
So
Well, I thank you so much for taking the time, taking an interest in our team and, just what you're doing for soccer and for all the other sports. It's really wonderful. And I'll be anxious to hear maybe offline who you would have play me.
exactly. Let me think about maybe, I have an Instagram site with all the kids on it, players on it. Maybe I'll do a poll on the Instagram and ask
Oh
them
God.
who should play coach tomorrow.
Oh God. It'll be
Yeah.
some old lady. Thanks a lot.
No, maybe it's like a Barbara Hershey or a dashing Hollywood strong leadership type. So maybe
How about a
Emma
skinnier?
Thompson.
Oh yeah, or skinnier. How about a skinnier Sandra Bullock?
That's
So you
right.
gotta have a sense of humor, right?
We'll take all of it. Yeah, I would never want to know who's going to play me these days. I went from having Blair Underwood to being Morgan Freeman. I don't know. I don't know how
Ah,
the years. I don't know how the years go by so fast. But
I hear you. I hear you.
well,
Young at heart, right?
young at heart, yeah. Well, Coach, hopefully maybe sometime I can see you, meet you in person, have a coffee, whatever. But if not, I
Love
will
it.
definitely make it to one of your games next year.
Yeah, and please come over say hi. It would be lovely.
Oh,
At
I
any
sure
time.
will.
All
Okay,
right.
that sounds
Take
good.
care. Thank you again.
Thanks again,
All right.
Coach.
Bye
All
bye.
right, take care.